Coast where we take sound that combines sunshine with rhyme, move 'em around. Take it slow, watch the smoke we blow. Bring California swing and this thing for show. Well, hey there, baby doll, dance the go-go. Off a little mentally, I see it in slow-mo. Hollywood, the east side, Hub City, and Frisco. Guys with the flyers, fires up in the disco. Whoa, whoa, oh, now here we go. Mira, delincuentes.
Welcome to the Double I Show.
Incoherent idiocy.
I'm Sweet T, and with me as always,
R.W. King.
Hey King, how you doing tonight,
I'm
brother?
doing pretty good, man. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing well.
It's fucking hot, right?
It's a hot one, man.
Oh,
It's
fuck.
boiling across the whole nation. Don't tell me that fucking, the global warming isn't real.
Yeah, but I guess my point was, fuck, the other studio had some air conditioning, dog. This one's not working too good in here.
Yeah, we'll talk to management and see what we can do.
Motherfuckers, dude. I mean, everything else is good here, man, but it's a little warm in here today, right?
Just a little toasty. It's all right.
And don't be sucking all the fucking air, bro. Hey, we want to say thanks to everybody, T. This thing jumped again, man. We want to say thank you to everybody for listening.
Yep.
You guys have choices out there, and we want to say thanks for making us your choice.
We know that you have plenty of choices on which airlines to fly with.
And we want to say
That's what
thank
it sounds
you.
like.
Yeah, well, hey, that's what it was, right?
Yeah, no, it's awesome. I like it.
Yeah, come fly with us, guys.
There you go.
So, hey, any new countries, T?
Germany. We've already had Germany, but we're growing in Germany. We've actually gotten
from Getatus.
from German. They've
I like the international flavors, T.
yeah, I know, but they're actually kind of gotten more. So we're seeing more downloads and everything, and more people jumping on over there in Germany. So for whatever reason, Germany's growing for us. So it's not a new country, but it's a country that's growing for our listeners.
Yeah, no, that's great, man. So, I mean, we're almost in every state here, right? I think we're only missing one or two or something.
I think we're missing two.
Yeah, so, hey, again, we want to say thank you to everybody. We got our gear coming back, man. We got some gear finally coming in, man.
Oh, did you see the pictures that I showed you?
Yeah, man. So, again, we got some more
nice
stuff coming. The people who've been waiting, who've been sending emails like, where's my shit? It's coming, guys.
Yeah.
So I think we got our stuff this week. We'll be mailing some stuff out next week. So we'll be wearing some swag, man.
Yeah, just be patient.
Yeah, I know. We appreciate your patience. So you just want to get into it, T, or you got anything else to say? Or
No, let's get into this, man.
yeah, I think we got a lot to cover today.
This is going to be a big, packed episode.
We want to go back to what we were doing before, T. We're going to break this up into our old episodes kind of thing. And, we need a little more structure, and sort of, we got to keep time, man. Okay, so Dr. X.
Dr. X. Oh, you didn't say hi to Dr. X. What's up, Dr. X? Big shout out to Dr. X.
See, man, here we go again. The way it's set up here, dude, I'm not looking at him right now.
Because you didn't want to.
Well, none of us are. We don't have to.
Yeah, I know that.
He's on the side of us. It's different here.
I know.
So, yeah. So, I didn't even see you, man. Hey, shout out to you, Dr. X, man. Way to go. Everything looking good today?
Yep.
Yeah, we had some issues with our sound last week, T, but we hope we got it straightened out now. So, everything should be good, man. We were a little bit light in a couple spots, but, it's a new studio.
It's a new studio, getting used to it.
We already gave the disclaimer last week.
Mm-hmm.
So, it should be better this week, man.
Yeah.
So, why don't we just go ahead and get into it, man?
Yeah, so this week we're going to be hitting a this is a touchy topic. This is a hot button for some people, and it's the opioid addiction in America.
Well, I think the thing we sort of want to talk about too, right, is sort of what is the root cause of this?
Well, yeah.
And so just go ahead and get into it, man. Whatever take you got or what you think, go ahead and start it.
Well, if you were to ask me what the root cause is, if you were to, ask me, quite honestly, it's greed. And this is greed by Big Pharma. Okay, when you're Big Pharma and you're pumping in, like 500,000 pills into a town with a population of less than 300 people, yeah, there's a big problem there.
No, yeah, you're right.
So it's greed. I mean, this all boils down to greed, and that's it. That's a bottom line, But I mean, King, I don't know. What do you think? I mean, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, man, I sort of agree with you. I really do. But I sort of think, too, a little bit of it is, I guess it is. It's all the root cause is the greed, but it's just a laziness, too.
How so?
It's a laziness of our doctors. It's sort of the same thing with antibiotics, T. We don't have any more antibiotics because it was so easy for our doctors to say, here, just take this. And they sort of messed it up. Right. And the reality is these pain pills, these opioids, such as morphine, codeine, those are naturally derived from an opium plant.
Right.
They're commonly grown or whatever else. But in America, a lot of this stuff is synthesized.
True.
Which means that it's synthetic.
Right. From a lab.
So hydrocodone and oxycodone, which are the biggest semi-synthetic opioids, are manufactured in labs in the United States. And between 2007 and 2016, the most widely prescribed opioid was hydrocodone, which is named Vicodin.
Yeah.
In 2016, 6.2 billion with a B, hydrocodone pills were distributed nationwide.
Wow.
So I'm going to stop there, though, because that means they were distributed nationwide. I don't think that was prescribed. Right?
No, that's just distributed.
Correct. So they were distributed to the drug stores or whatever else.
Right, right.
But that's just a huge number.
It is. But, okay, to
now,
your
think
point,
of this. Let me just finish this one before we go.
Go ahead.
The second most prevalent opioid was oxycodone, Percocet.
Mm-hmm.
In 2016, 5 billion oxycodone tablets were distributed in the United States, according to these stats. That's amazing, T. You're talking over 11.5 billion pain pills distributed in the United States.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Okay. Now, to your point, yes, it is just easier for a doctor to prescribe it. But now what's come out, and you know, because now there's all these lawsuits flying back and forth about the opioid addictions and against all these big pharma, it comes out that a lot of these doctors were in the pocket books of big pharma. They were getting kickbacks for prescribing that. So again, it circles back to greed.
Well, it wasn't really done. So what I was going to say was that was the first part for me.
Okay.
That it was so easy for the doctors to prescribe this that people were abusing this medication.
Right.
And it was very easy to abuse it. And with its addictive properties, even though the government came out 10, 15 years ago and said there were no addictive properties to these synthetic opioids.
Yeah, right.
These people were getting addicted to it and it was easy for them to get. It was just making a problem there.
Yeah.
Then what came into that T was the criminal element. And there's a lot of people that get these things on a regular basis and turn around and sell them.
True.
Or they know people that work at pharmacies and they get hundreds of them.
Right.
And distribute them and people eat them like candy every day.
Yeah.
I know that because I know people that were actually distributors of them.
Yeah.
So not like I, hung around with these people or whatever else, but actually it was a relative of a friend of mine.
Right. So it's like a 6 degrees of separation type
thing.
Yeah.
And actually it was more of we were trying to talk him off the ledge kind of thing. And we figured out that's what he was doing. But it's to a point where people can make good money on these things.
Oh, yeah.
So now when you get the black market involved, now it's a whole different ball game.
Right.
And I think that's what sort of is fucking this whole thing up. Is now there's so much money involved in it, everyone wants a piece. And if you get it out on the street and you put it out there, it's going to grow because people are just going to try it. And I think it's one of those things almost like crack. You put it out to enough masses, it's like fishing. You're going to catch some fish.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So I think that's sort of what's contributing to what's going on.
The big one right now that everybody's talking about is the fentanyl. Fentanyl's one of those it's a fully synthetic opioid. Kind of like to your point when you were talking about the synthetics. Fentanyl's huge, man. And that's the one, I believe that's the one that's kind of causing a lot of problems because you can't even touch it. Like these first responders and things like that, they have to go in almost in full suits if they realize that there's fentanyl there because it can, just even touching it, their skin absorbing it, they can OD on it.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's how crazy this stuff is, you know? And, I'm not going to throw out any names, but, you and I kind of grew up in a rough neighborhood and, there was a woman who was a wife to somebody that we knew, to a family member of a family that we really knew and we were close to. And, she was always like alcoholism. She was an addict with all kinds of stuff. And I ran into them, a member of their family, a few years back out on the street. And I said, oh, how's everybody doing? How's so-and-so? How's so-and-so? I said, oh, she passed away a couple years ago. I said, how? And they said, opioid addiction. She OD'd on opioids.
Yeah, man.
And that's tough. When you know somebody, whether you were close to them or not, you just know somebody and I think there's a lot of people out there that know somebody that has done this. And this stuff is addicting. This stuff sucks.
No, you're right. And it's one of those things out there that it ruins families, it ruins lives, and it doesn't care who it ruins. And it can ruin somebody who has everything going for them, or it can ruin somebody who feels like they don't have anything going for them in their life.
Yeah.
It doesn't care.
No, it doesn't.
And that's the thing that we have to understand, especially as adults with children. I think that's one of the things I wanted to talk about too, that this is a prescription abuse, and prescription medication abuse is very, very common and a high percentage in adolescent teens.
Yeah.
Because it's easy for them to go into the medicine cabinet and just grab the shit.
True.
And we have to be careful as parents of what we're leaving around. And the reality is, if you don't need it, don't just hold it just in case you throw your back out later or something. Just get rid of it. Flush it down the toilet.
Yeah.
If you're not going to use it. But keep it away from your children.
Well, they're even saying not even to flush it anymore. They're saying, I guess they're doing like these pill deposit places, kind of like, your e-waste and stuff like that. Because it's
but
too
the
dangerous.
reality, you're right. But the reality is that, if a lot of people start doing it. If you throw a prescription of Vicodin down there, I'm sure the fish are going to enjoy it a little bit.
I'm sure they'll get a little numb.
So,
but have you heard about this drug called, and I know I'm going to butcher the actual pronunciation of it, but it's naloxone or something like that.
Yeah, and I think some people use it like in a nasal spray.
Yeah,
right?
it's like a nasal spray, and it's for treatment of an overdose. So when somebody's in the middle of an overdose, you just spray it up their nose, and it'll bring them back.
But this has been around for a while, and it's actually in a shot too, and I think it's more for heroin. Remember, heroin is one of the strongest opioids out there.
It is.
That's typically what these people are ODing on, because you don't need a lot to OD.
Correct.
So a mismanagement of even one shot or one use, I don't know how they term it, can bring about an overdose.
Right.
So yeah, this has been around for a while, and basically you're injected in them. It sort of reverses the effect and somehow changes the oxygen level in your blood again.
Right. You got police officers, first responders, everybody's carrying them.
It's the other stuff too that they use. It's not, I can't remember what it is, but you remember the big shot in Pulp Fiction?
Oh,
when she overdosed.
Like an adrenaline shot.
Adrenaline shot. Yeah, same type of thing. It's gonna put oxygen into your system to sort of snap you out of it.
Gotcha.
Right?
Yeah.
But I think the thing too that's sort of troubling to you is the overdose amounts. And they're sort of broken down in this, piece that you did, and it's a good piece, and Dr. X, great job. But they just talk about the number of drug overdose deaths occurred in the United States in 2017 was over 70,000.
Yeah.
That's crazy, man.
That is nuts.
And that's up 9.6% from the year before. So when they get and shake out the number for last year and they put it out, it's going to be 9% higher probably.
Probably.
If not more.
Yeah. Yeah, because this is not slowed down at all.
And that's what they talk about, man. They're saying that these synthetic opioids are currently the main drivers of drug overdose deaths. And these opioids were involved in over 47,000 of these overdose deaths in 2016. So that's crazy. So the reality is then, I guess heroin isn't that big or prevalent anymore. It's these opioids that are getting it, these synthetic opioids.
Yeah.
Away from heroin.
Well, was it
the Vicodin and the Percocet or Pervocet or whatever it was, right?
Yeah, it's Percocet.
Right. Those are the ones that are causing these overdoses.
Exactly.
And these are out there in the billions. So if these are the most common things causing overdoses in our country, shouldn't we get them the fuck out?
You would think so.
I don't get it.
I don't either. Well, again, it's greed.
Or is it because there's so many here, they're just so available at whatever means, legal, illegal, whatever, that's sort of what they're trying to do, maybe?
Well, they got all these pill mills now. So you got guys making these things illegally. You could go on Amazon or you can go on any of these other places and you could order like a pill making machine. And these guys make them. And
but how do you get the ingredients, dude? Because aren't the ingredients really what it's made of, right? That's the stuff. That's the active ingredients.
Right.
It's not like you push a button and say, I want to make a Percocet.
Well, they're getting them illegally. And
yeah, but to get the ingredients, I think would be even harder.
No, it's actually quite easy. These guys have figured it out, and they're just, how like there's grow houses and all this type of crap, right? When you get like a crack house where they're making, meth or whatever. Same thing. They got pill mill houses and they just bring this stuff in by the barrel, load it up, start doing it, and then they're gone. That's it. It's crazy. But listen to this.
Yeah, man. But I mean, just think of that. Those are the places that are probably causing a lot of the overdoses because they're not regulated.
Correct.
They're not doing this shit right.
Correct.
What do they call it? Like what's in Casino? Remember at the end when Ace's wife, the crazy lady, remember she took her money and left, and they found her OD'd. She was shot up. They gave her a hot dose.
Right.
That's what happens.
That's what happens.
They're not balanced right. There's too much of this or too much of that, and it just fucks you up.
Correct.
So that's probably a big reason why if they're manufacturing it like that. But man, if there's 11 billion of them manufactured in legal means, distributed, why the fuck do they need to make them?
I have no idea.
I guess the money's that
good. I mean,
fuck,
everybody, and you can sell them cheaper, because it's not made from the pharmaceuticals. But listen to this stat. About 11.4 million Americans misuse opioids in 2017, including 11.1 prescribed misusers and 886,000 heroin users. That's crazy.
That's nuts, man.
That is crazy. And the sad thing is we don't have enough people paying attention to this. We don't. From our politicians, from the feds all the way down to our local government. And I know the local government, it's tougher for them because of finances and things like that. But we got to do something.
It's not just that, but you talk about big pharma and all this stuff, right? What about the big retailers? There's a group of retailers right now getting sued. Walmart, CVS, Walgreens, and Rite Aid.
Yeah.
They're getting sued for billions of dollars in a class action suit. And basically they're getting sued for aiding the spread of opioid addiction and opioids. That's crazy. So they're basically saying that these places that were distributing them too easily.
Well, they were doing it, and I read what you're talking about, and a lot of those hit hard by that were Native American tribes. They were hit hard by that, and so they're some of the ones that are kind of spearheading these lawsuits because a lot of them had heavy death tolls because it just ravaged their community.
Because a doctor prescribed it and those places filled the prescription?
No, yeah. Exactly.
Dude, someone was going to fill it. Shouldn't a doctor get sued?
I think so too. And I think it's probably the next. But see, they're going after money.
Yeah, because they said it's for billions of dollars. They didn't give the exact amount.
You have to go after the money to make an example.
Oh,
and it's just a drop in the bucket, though. The sad part is that's just a drop in the bucket for them. That's not that big of a deal, right? I mean, think about it. I think, what is it? Johnson & Johnson, they ran a scheme to market opioids. Now they're getting sued by Oklahoma State Attorney General for $17 billion. And but that's a drop in the bucket for a company that size.
Well, not just that, but it's a money grab because there's already precedent set. Right, McKesson was one of the biggest distributors of these opioids.
Oh, yeah.
And they paid a record $150 million fine a couple of years ago to settle some federal accusations that they were making suspiciously large deliveries of opioids to places where there could not be a legitimate demand for so many pills.
To my point earlier in the episode.
So they didn't stop their production, T. They just fined them.
Uh-huh.
Okay, fuckers, if you're going to make that money, we want a piece.
Right.
That's mafia, dude.
It is.
I mean, come on.
Everybody's got to get their cut.
That's weak.
That's horrible.
Right?
Man.
So you look at all these states now and these attorney generals, they're going to settle out for millions when you start telling them, hey, you know what, guys? You shouldn't be bringing that much shit in here.
No.
It's in legal means I'm going to sue you and we'll settle out of court for $150 million. That means I get
to keep doing it.
But that's basically strong-arming these guys. If you're going to bring that shit in here, we want to cut.
Right.
That's really what it is, right?
That's gangster, man.
I mean, that's what they're doing,
that's
right or wrong.
That's exactly what they're doing.
So, I mean, isn't that regurgitating the cycle?
It is.
Right? I mean, how are you?
You're just perpetuating the cycle to continue. And that's all you're doing.
The point is like, fuck. I mean, at some point, someone's got to break this cycle because by fining them, all you're doing is getting a cut of what they're making.
That's all you're doing. And you're legalizing it. You're saying it's okay. You just pay me and we're good. I'll look the other way.
I don't know, T. I think that, you see all these shows and you see what these things do to people's families. Something has to be done. And I almost think sometimes there's, I don't want to say on purpose, but strategies by the government to do certain things for certain reasons. And I don't know the reasoning behind this, but maybe this is something that's planned by the government, man. Because it's just it's too fucking shady, T. Look at what I just read about that fucking $150 million payout. They know these guys are flooding the country.
Right.
And they're not stopping them.
Now,
They're just telling them, give me some money.
I don't think it's a strategy or a plan necessarily, but I do think that the government does have a very active role and an active hand in allowing this stuff to continue. And to your point, I mean, they're getting paid for it, so why should they stop?
I mean, yeah, and they're making millions and millions of dollars, billions of dollars, and they're probably feeding on the lower class and lower middle class,
well,
right?
They are, because we talked about the Native American tribes.
Right.
The other thing that's been, is Appalachian towns. So, that those people like in what is it? What's the Appalachian states? Help me out. Pennsylvania, Kentucky,
right?
All that. I mean, was it West Virginia? And
right.
All
so
that?
They're a little bit financially challenged in some of those areas, right?
Yeah, and not to mention.
But isn't that where everybody gets targeted? I'm gonna say like alcohol gets targeted those
exactly.
areas. Tobacco gets
anything
targeted.
That's an addictive type of substance, it does. But they have proof that showing that they were purposely feeding those areas with an above average. So that's crazy, man.
But I mean, even something like that. I mean, instead of finding them, you got to do something like, you know what, you can't produce that product anymore.
Something, yeah.
Yeah, not, hey, give me a cut.
Right.
I mean, that just sends the wrong message, man.
Well, like I said, all it's doing is legalizing it and saying it's okay to do it as long as you're paying us.
Right, exactly.
You can keep doing it. You can keep doing it. I don't give a shit.
Well, yeah, because they're saying if you're going to do it again, we're going to fine you again.
Right. I don't give a shit.
So that's basically what they're saying.
Yeah.
Go ahead and do it. We'll slap you on the hand again. Tell everybody we had to settle out of court again. But now next time you give me $200 million.
Right. It reminds me of Goodfellas. Fuck you, pay me.
Yeah, exactly. Fuck you. You're selling this shit in my state.
Fuck
fucking
you,
pay me.
Yep. That's all it is.
Yeah. No, right.
It's sad, and I think a lot of people know people that are stricken by it. I think a lot of people know people that are struggling and going through it. It just sucks.
Yeah, that's nuts, dude. The last thing I'm going to talk about is we talked about small areas, right?
Yeah.
So there was this story, and I know you guys threw it in there, but it was a Tug Valley pharmacy. Did you hear about that? I
did, yeah.
This thing opened up to meet the demand to fill prescriptions written by a group of doctors operating from a pain clinic in the Williamson area, but it was run by a convicted pimp. So this clinic opened up and this pharmacy opened up next to it. The pharmacy was actually owned and operated by a convicted pimp.
What the fuck?
First of all, why would they give that guy a pharmacy license?
They shouldn't have.
After that, the doctors in this pharmacy or in this group were revealed to have written prescriptions for more opioid pills than West Virginia's biggest hospital through the 2000s.
See?
So again, the writing's there, T.
Yeah.
They know this guy has a record. The state didn't do the due diligence. They're basically saying, fuck it, go ahead, dude, open it up. Do what you're going to do. But someone's getting something out of there.
Right.
If these guys were allowed to do this for a decade.
Greasing somebody's palm.
They were greasing somebody. And that's sort of what I wanted to mention that for. That's insane. Dude.
It is.
Right?
It is. And these are just small examples of what's been going on. There's tons and tons of examples like this. That's the sad part.
There's a few of them in West Virginia, though, T, and that's what I was sort of wondering what's going on there.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, they're targeting, I mentioned West Virginia, Kentucky, all that area, man.
I mean,
the Appalachian states.
Like the one I was just talking about, those guys were, they were looking back at their orders. They were ordering 120,000 painkiller pills a month.
That's crazy.
Okay, dude, really?
That's fucking
nuts. And nobody's saying nothing because they're paying the bill?
Hell no.
Fucking nuts, dude.
I mean,
dude, this is just insane.
It is.
And you start looking at it, and I guess, yeah, you're right. Maybe that root cause is just greed.
Straight up.
It's just money. It's greed. It's whatever else, man.
It's just a money grab. And you know what? Sadly, people are just disposable to them.
Yeah, and that's a shame.
You know,
That's a shame that our society just thinks that way.
yeah, because it's all about just who cares about the lives? Who cares about these people's lives that you're destroying? You know, the families that are left behind with this, you know, all the ravage that's been caused with these families and broken homes and children and everything. Who gives a shit? I'm making a profit. Fuck them.
Yeah, it's fucking nuts, dude. But, you know, I think with that, T, man, we're going to go ahead and close it up.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it was a tough subject.
It's hard, man. That was hard
You
for me
know,
to get
and,
through.
You know, there's people out there that are experiencing these things, T, and they may have a relative, they may have a friend, somebody that a loved one, someone they care for, who's dealing with something like this.
Yeah.
And it's like we talk about at all points, right? You got to get help. You got to talk to somebody. At some points, you got to just open up to somebody who you know can help you.
Somebody you trust.
And just get it out there, man.
Yeah.
You know, don't keep it to yourself and keep going down this path because it's a no-win path. You got to get out there, speak to it, put it out there. And anyone in this right now who's listening, you can beat this, man.
Yeah,
you know,
you can.
It's not bigger than you.
No, you have the power to do it.
And you can do it. It's one step at a time. And take that first step. You know, brother, just take that first step.
That's all it takes.
You'll be amazed at what you can accomplish. You know, you put your mind to it, you can do anything.
You're bigger and stronger than that.
Absolutely, man. So we're going to go ahead and move on, man, and we're going to go in and get into the man's corner, T.
Man's corner.
So, yeah, we're going to talk about a little bit of a tough subject today, and it's a little bit serious subject,
yes.
right?
So I got a question for you there, King.
Yeah.
Have your balls ever hurt?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I don't want to go, I don't even want to go into this in the humor bit because this is a real serious
Yeah, no, I'm
type of
asking.
thing.
Have your balls ever hurt?
And what we're going to talk about today is testicular pain.
Right.
So even before we, you know, I don't want guys to think this is a humorous bit, but I mean, at some point, yeah, you get a little bit of ache or something, but I've never had any problems down there personally.
Like a prolonged pain or anything,
Yeah,
right?
and I mean, you know, when I was in sports or something, I pulled my groin right up under my nuts and it sort of bugged me.
Right, or you took a
I mean?
shot to it or something like that.
Exactly.
Right.
You got kicked in the dick and you're fucked up for a week or so, you know, and fucking tender as hell.
Right, but you mean that passes.
Yeah, exactly. But I've never had pain that was prolonged or anything like that.
Right. So what we're kind of talking about today, though, are things that happen that are prolonged. Things that, you know, come on, it lasts longer than a week and you're still sitting there and you're afraid to say something or you're afraid to go to the doctor. There's some serious consequences that can happen to you. And if you guys are experiencing any of this or have, please get yourself checked. You know, go see a doctor.
And we talk about that all the time, T. And it's the same thing, guys. If you're feeling bad, your body's not right, go talk to someone.
Well, it's like what you said. You know, if you can't be honest and open with your doctor, who can you be with, right? Because that guy's there just to help you.
And I think it's tough, man. But it's like we've mentioned a couple times. There's other avenues now, T.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's like on the online and everything like that too.
Yeah, so it's almost like anonymous. If you don't want to go deal with it and you're a little bit shy about it, fucking get on one of those sites.
Yeah, for sure. But you know, King, some of the things that can cause like testicular pain is like an STD. You know, you're talking chlamydia, gonorrhea, you know, urinary tract infections, and usually it's just antibiotics and it'll clear it up. But those are symptoms of something, and I don't even know how to pronounce this. I don't know if you can take a shot at this. And I'm gonna butcher it.
Epididymitis?
Okay, that's better than I would probably do.
Yeah. So I mean, I think the thing is, like you talked about, is sure. I mean, probably a lot of guys have probably had some kind of clap or something. You know, I've been sort of lucky.
Yeah.
You know, dodged some bullets, I guess. You know, but I got lucky. But I mean, the reality is it can happen to you and those pains aren't going to happen right away.
Right.
It's when you don't take care of it. You're going to get those prolonged effects and it's going to be harder to cure.
True.
And that's the thing you guys got to realize, right? If you wake up in the morning and it doesn't look normal down there and there's some kind of something going on down there.
Or feel normal.
Or if you have bumps or lumps or things like that, you got to get it checked right away.
For sure.
And that's what it is, guys. It could be a hernia.
Yeah.
It could be a lot of different things.
Kidney stones cause that type of stuff, man.
And that's what I'm saying, guys. It's not something, if you know you didn't, okay, so think this way, T. I went to sleep at night. I went to work the day before. Everything was normal when I went to sleep. I woke up in the morning with the worst pain in my dick. I know already it probably isn't sexual because I didn't do nothing last night.
Right.
If I did something in the last couple days, maybe, but I would have probably felt something within 24 hours.
Right.
So it may be something where I pulled something or a kidney stone.
Or a kidney stone.
Something like that. So you sort of know what it is.
Right.
When you go out and you're having it at the club and you're fucking some nice, pretty girls up on you, and it just doesn't work out, dude, and you wake up with a whole bunch of blisters or funky looking things on you,
then you got a bigger problem.
don't just pour peroxide on it, man.
No.
It ain't gonna work.
It ain't gonna work.
You got to go to the doctor and get some meds.
Yeah.
And don't go to Mexico and get penicillin, because that ain't it, man.
No, that's
You
not
know
it.
what I mean?
You're
So-
right, actually.
And guys do that, and it might clear up some of the symptoms, and they think they're good. A few months later,
It comes back.
not just it comes back, but getting to our topic, this is where you get the testicular problems, the pains,
Right.
the syndromes, the things you can't get rid of now because the damage is irreversible. And that's sort of what I was going to say.
Well, so there's, different types of inflammation, kind of like what you were saying, right? And, here are some symptoms of that type of inflammation. You have fatigue, fever, nausea, testicular pain, swelling in one or both testicles, and vomiting. Those are pretty serious. Any one of those is serious. Fever, maybe you could say, I was, maybe I got the flu or something like that, and you kind of pass it off. But nausea, testicular pain, swelling. Swelling's crazy, man. If it was swelling up, you better believe I'm going to the doctor right away. Looking at everything that Dr. X set up for us, and there's a lot of information in here, man. And you get a lot of people under the age of 25 that this type of stuff affects. And that's huge. Think about that.
I think that's probably the bigger group of people who won't get it checked.
Probably. They're probably afraid to get it checked. They don't know what to do. So you're probably right about that. It's just kind of, it's weird. Honestly, I think this is one of those topics where, guys, if there's anything, see a doctor. Definitely see a doctor. Because, King, to your point, man, it can be some serious stuff that's happening that's going to last you for a very long time, the ramifications.
Well, I think that's what you don't want to happen. You don't want those irreversible things to happen. And affect the ability to make a baby or to get an erection or things like that can permanently damage you pretty bad.
Right, exactly.
Right? Another thing, man, that we didn't really talk about in this subject, though, right, T, is it's not just, talk to a doctor or whatever else, but sometimes guys get a little aggressive sexually.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a physical aspect to it. So sort of understand if you did something, but be honest with your doctor when you go. Tell him what happened. Tell him what's been going on with you. Don't wait for him to pull the question out of you. Let him know everything that's going on because it might affect what's going on in your diagnosis.
Yeah.
If you haven't had any issues, you haven't had any sexual contact, and all of a sudden you got a whole bunch of stuff going on outside of that thing, yeah, let him know what's going on, man.
That's a really good
don't
point.
let him assume what's going on. So I think, again, it's like we talk about, with these topics, you got to make sure and talk to your doctor. Let him know what's going on. Let him know what's going on with you. And if anything's going on down there, guys, just like we talked about the last episode, you got to go get it checked out.
Yeah, you really do not want to get or let any of this stuff kind of fester and get prolonged. You really want to get this stuff taken care of because this is your livelihood too. This is, especially if you're young, this group under 25 being so high. If you're that young, you have your whole life ahead of you. You don't want to have to suffer.
Yeah, no, I think that'll close it up for us. It's a tough subject, T.
It is. That's two tough subjects back to back there,
yeah,
King.
Exactly. So let's go ahead and get into Did You Know, man. Go ahead and take this one, T.
Did you know?
Did you know?
All right, kind of keeping with the theme of like the testicular thing and everything. This one's called Underwear Counts. All right. Tight-fitting underwear takes a toll on your body, guys. So a study published last year in the Human Reproduction found that men who primarily wore boxer shorts averaged 25% higher sperm concentration and 17% higher total sperm count than men who wore other types of underwear. So they're saying that this doctor recommends loose-fitting underwear like boxers because it gives your testicles enough space to regulate temperature, by moving closer to or further away from your body. So, and also sitting too long, or actually in a hot tub. Hot tub just kind of bakes those nuts in your sperm, man. So that could really have an effect on you and cause sperm problems if you, soak in a hot tub frequently and for too long. So you definitely want to be able to keep your nuts nice and cool. I think we talked about this off air. We always joke about stuff like, your nuts are just bacon, right?
Yeah, so what's the did you know? Did you know that if you wear tight shit, you don't get no more sperm?
Exactly.
Oh, all right. I got it. That was a little bit lengthy. I was trying to figure out, okay, am I trying to did you know? All right, I got it, man. But they always said that too, you know what I mean? But then they said, though, did you know that sitting too long can, no shit, you're going to cook your nuts.
You're cooking your nuts, and especially in a hot tub.
Yeah, so.
Think about a hot tub, dude. That's like a hard-boiled egg right there.
Yeah, no, exactly, man. Let's go ahead and get into some sports, T.
Oh.
So what we're going to do now, talk about a little bit of NFL. We like the NFL. Everyone started their training camps already. We talked about that in our fantasy football edition, T. We're in our second episode of our fantasy football edition. Oh, I love the NFL, man. So, yeah, no, thanks for that, Dr. X. Appreciate you. And so everything's getting in full swing now.
Yeah.
There's a couple guys that already went down. Nobody's super relevant. A couple defensive players already out for the year.
Right.
But it, T. Just the way it is. There's going to be a big name or two that's going to get a big-time injury.
It always happens.
And, I hope it's none of the guys that I want to take in my fantasy. But, hey, sometimes it is, and you got to restructure what you do.
And who would you be wanting to take in your fantasy?
Well, you'd have to listen to the Double I Fantasy editions. We already got our first one out, which was out last week, T.
Yeah.
And we got our second one coming out the day after this show.
Yeah, tomorrow.
Yeah.
From when they listen to this,
right,
tomorrow.
Exactly. So tomorrow. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Don't throw me off, man.
I know it threw you for a curve right there.
Yeah, it did. But I mean, there's some good stuff on there, guys. T had a pretty good breakdown of a team. It was pretty impressive. I think you guys should tune in and listen a little bit. And if you guys are interested in fantasy football, or if you're not, or you're thinking about it, invest the time, man. You might get some out of it.
Yeah, it was good stuff.
So in the NFL, man, we got some things going on right now. And typically at the beginning of training camp, and seems to be maybe the coup de grace right now, the flavor of the month.
Oh, I like that word.
Did
Coup
you
de
like
grace.
that? A little
Coup
bit
de
of
grace.
Yeah, what was that song I was playing for you the other day? Remember that French song? And you're looking at me like, what the fuck are you playing?
Well, because you're not that cultured.
Anyway, dude, why you gotta go there? So I guess the flavor of the month in the NFL, especially with running back, is you gotta pay me.
Right.
Because I mean, we were talking about that pre-show, right? What would happen if Todd Gurley didn't sign that big contract before last year? He produced for him. He blew up in the fucking first year of his contract.
He'd be screwed this year.
He'd be screwed. He wouldn't get the money he's supposed to get.
Nope.
So, yeah, man, you got to pay me now.
Hey, throw him in the gutter and go get another.
And there's a couple pretty big name guys, top name guys that are holding out right now, T.
They are.
One of them is Ezekiel Elliott, and the other one is Melvin Gordon. So why don't you take your little spin on those guys? Tell me what you think.
So I used to never like it when guys hold out. I always felt that a contract is a contract is a contract, and you honor that contract. But I was a little naive to, I guess, the business aspect of it and how these guys are just kind of tossed aside. And so now I've come around to the whole fact is, you know what? These guys they need to get paid, especially if they're producing. And you and I were speaking, pre-show. We were talking about this, and we're like, look, these guys have not just only produced according to their contract from what their draft was, but they have gone above and beyond. And so these guys, if anybody, deserves to get paid, and I think these guys need to get paid for sure.
Well, I think T, right, and we touched on it maybe a couple episodes ago. I know we touched on it, but the running back position in the NFL has changed.
It has.
It's disposable.
It's completely disposable.
And they don't care who they put in that position.
Extremely devalued.
And unless you're one of those top 4 or 5 guys in the NFL, you don't get paid.
You don't.
And that's crazy. So, I mean, you get paid decent money. $8-9 million ain't nothing to shit on, but
no,
you're getting pounded up in there, man. Your body's taking a beating, and you got the smallest shelf life out of everybody.
And that's why I think
and that's
so
why
devalued.
They're saying now, you better pay me because it can change so drastically from one year to the next.
I won play.
And if you're just abusing me in my contract and running me into the ground to put the next guy up, then fucking pay me.
And they do that.
And I sort of like you, T. I'm thinking, you know what, man? More power to these guys a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
The owner's got to realize at some point, you got nobody behind them. The salary cap's going to dictate what you do. They're asking for a few million more a year. Just give it to them. Work it out.
Yeah.
They're the best players on your team, basically. If they're the top 5 or 6 guys in the league, they're the best players on your team. So, Ezekiel Elliott, Melvin Gordon, they're the best players on their offense.
They are.
You better pay them. The problem in San Diego, to me, is that they're cheap.
Oh, they are extremely cheap. They always have been.
The other problem, dude, is what kind of leverage does Melvin Gordon have? And Melvin Gordon doesn't have much leverage there because they have Austin Eckler and Justin Jackson.
Right.
And both those guys performed. So they can sit there and tell this guy, okay, you're going to hold out. We don't got to pay you. You're not playing. You're not going to get your game checks. And that's what happens when they hold out. Then he's going to say, okay, fuck it then. I'm not going to play for you forever. Okay, then we're going to franchise tag you for 2 years and you won't get paid for 2 more years.
And at that point, you're done.
Your prime's over. Done. Your career's done.
Your career's done.
So he doesn't have much leverage. I think they're going to end that pretty quick over there. And I see him back in camp. And, it's like we talked about in a pre-show, T. What's he really going for here? $1 million more a year?
Probably.
$500,000 more?
Probably.
What would he settle for? What's his ceiling? I'm really shooting for $2 million more a year, but if they come across with $750,000, I'm good. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's not in the grand scheme of things, it's not that much.
It might just be nothing.
Right.
So I think he's going to get back into camp faster than Zeke, but I think they both will because I think Jerry Jones covets his stars. He loves his guys. He's going to pay Dak. He's just paid Lawrence, the defensive end.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Zeke's like, you know what? Fuck you. I've been here. I've been doing it. This shit can end for me tomorrow. Pay me before these other guys.
Yeah.
And that's where he's staying right now. And you know what? More power to him. He had 350 carries last year.
He carries a lot of that
offense. You're going to run
offense.
him into the fucking ground.
Yeah, he carries a lot of that offense.
By the time they're done with him in Dallas, he can't go anywhere else to be productive.
No.
So get your fucking money.
Yep.
More power to you, Zeke.
Yep. Go get paid.
The other guy is Michael Thomas, New Orleans. He's holding out right now.
Yeah.
He's holding out, and they're going to take care of him. It's just about working out the wording right now. So I heard that the money's pretty close. They know what they want to pay him. They know they're going to pay him. So it's just about figuring out the semantics, right?
Right. But they have to. Who else have they got?
Yeah, no, you're right. There's no one else there. Traquan Smith, Teddy Ginn.
Right.
So the team's more about a system and a running back. And you have your big 3 still. So I know your big 3 is like a big 2.5 because Breeze isn't what he was.
Right.
But the reality is he's been in the big game. He's been there before. He really doesn't get rattled. If he only played at home for 16 games, he'd probably be a top 3 quarterback.
Oh, yeah.
If you take his home and away splits, I wish I could never play him at away. You know what I mean? If he was on my team, right? So he sort of sucks balls away. And that's why the team hasn't made it the championship or the Super Bowl. It's tough. They just can't win on the road.
They can't.
And that's sort of what sucks for them. The last guy I want to talk about that's holding out is Jadeveon Clowney.
Yeah.
Jadeveon Clowney's holding out, and I think that's a big piece for these guys. And they really need to do something with that in Houston. J.J. Watts, he's wore out, dude. He's been wore out for 4 or 5 years, just getting his ass beat. His body's breaking down now.
Yep. And Clowney's young, man. Clowney's still young enough, and you really need him there. But Houston's kind of digging in their heels a little bit.
Here's the thing. It's what we talk about. You draft these guys with these number 1 picks. You have expectations. They're meeting those expectations or exceeding them. And then they want to get paid. And you say no. I don't get it, T.
I don't either.
It's like the 2 running backs we talked about. Those guys were both first-round guys. So the team expected them to be a big part of their offense and do what they did. And they went out and did it. And now they're telling their team, pay me. Because everyone else is getting paid. I want to get paid.
Yeah.
You say, I'm not sure if I want to pay you. Then why the fuck would you draft that guy in the first round?
Makes no sense.
It sort of kills me. So you knew Jadeveon Clowney coming in, had his injury. They wanted to redshirt him. Didn't want to rush nothing. He's going to be your franchise guy. If he's going to be your franchise guy, and you already got J.J. Watt, why aren't you going to pay him when his second contract's coming up? And when he's out playing his previous contract?
Makes no sense.
Doesn't to me whatsoever. I understand the cap, but you got to take care of the guys who are getting you there.
Right.
And that's really what it is. He's sort of saying, look, I don't want to take a back seat to J.J. Watt anymore. This guy's making a lot more money than me, and I'm doing more than him.
At this stage in his career, he's right.
Because the last 2 years, J.J. Watt's been hurt.
Yeah.
So the reality is, man, it just whatever it is, man, they just got to get this thing squared away and get this guy in the field, because the reality is Houston's defense doesn't have that much longer of a window. They're in a win now situation.
They are. They're aging really quick.
And that's what it is. They got to figure this shit out now and quit fucking around. So they got to get Clowney in camp and get him squared away. And then at that point, hopefully it all works out for him. So that's about what I got in the NFL, man. You got anything going on in the NBA, T?
Really nothing right now other than, people trying to stir up shit. Kind of to your point, the press out there trying to make something out of nothing, with all these Kawhi quotes about the Lakers and Toronto and how he didn't play them and this and that.
Well, I read a thing too, and it said that really there was no, like when Magic came out and talked and stuff, he said it was really no part of his decision.
Right.
And he really said the reality was, even when he left LA, it was a long shot, because he said he threw the pitch to everybody about who he wanted to play with. And then he just walked out of the meeting. He didn't know who was trying to do it. So he didn't think even the Clippers could pull it off. But when they did, he had to keep his word.
Yeah.
And that's why he went over there.
Right.
But I think it's great for LA, man. We're the fucking mecca right now of the NBA.
It is.
You know what I mean? I love it. I love Steve Ballmer. Did you see Steve Ballmer in his press conference?
Oh, he's
Dude,
I
so
love
cringy.
that guy, dude.
He's
so cringy, though.
I don't care if he's a goober. I don't care if he's a geek. He's not this fucking stuffy old owner.
Okay, but here's the thing.
You know what I mean?
Here's my problem with him.
And
okay?
I think it's fake, some of it, and his reactions.
It's a lot of it's fake.
But you know what,
a lot of it is. But here's the thing, okay?
Make a fool of yourself, billionaire. Go for it.
Well, but here's my problem with him. You know that I'm a tech junkie, right? I love technology. I read up on tech all the time. Now, he ran Microsoft into the ground. That company, I mean, is virtually indestructible, and he almost did it. Okay? And I've had enough of his goofy presentations and acting really stupid and dumb and cringy when he was with Microsoft. So he's just doing the same thing, but here in the NBA. So I'm really kind of just tired of that whole act. So when I saw that, I was like, click, and I changed it. I don't want to see it anymore because I've seen it.
You're just making a decision based on before.
I've seen it, though. It's the same act.
But I'm going to say this. This guy has made this team what no one else has.
I'm not talking about that.
You just said he ran the organization in the ground.
He ran Microsoft in the ground.
So you're tired of seeing those things.
No, I'm tired of seeing his little cringy act.
No, whatever it is. He's not in the front of it. So it's okay. But, I mean, he built a great team, and he let his guys do it. He put the money out there to get these guys. So and that's really the guy who's signing off, because if they don't make the money on the revenue, the owner still has to pay the check.
Now
right?
They also announced a new stadium.
Whose new stadium?
The Clippers.
When was that?
They made the announcement yesterday.
Oh shit! I didn't even hear that.
You missed that one?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this thing looks like a Fabergé egg on its side. It looks beautiful. It's pretty awesome looking, man. But, the owners of the Forum, which is, Madison Square Garden. So it's MSG Entertainment or whatever that is.
Okay, so, I mean, that's the first thing. Where's this thing going to be?
Right next to the new Rams Stadium.
Oh, so you're going to knock down the Forum. Oh, no. I did hear about this.
Right.
It's not a done deal, T.
Well, it's not done yet because there's
the Forum's
litigation.
fucked. Yeah.
That's what I was getting to.
No, they've been trying to do this for a couple years.
But they already announced the fucker yesterday.
Yeah, but it's... man.
That's what I'm trying to get at, man. They announced this thing. They rolled out all the artwork, the design, everything. They're talking like it's a done deal.
Okay, I'm reading the headline right now from the Los Angeles Times. The Clippers reveal renderings for a proposed Inglewood Arena.
Right.
The Washington Post. Steve Ballmer unveils a $1 billion dream. A new arena complex for the Clippers at this point is just a dream.
Yeah, and it's all supposed to be privately funded.
Well, Ballmer has the money.
Right.
And he's got the people that'll fund it for him.
Exactly.
But he needs to get out of the shadows. I like what he's doing, man.
No, he does. The Clippers, they need that.
Yeah, I mean, because the bottom line is they were just going to wallow there with Sterling.
They were.
They had their moment when they had Blake, Chris Paul, those guys. They that was as good as they were going to get.
Yep.
with Doc Rivers. That was it. But he didn't want to invest the money. He wasn't that type of owner.
No.
This guy is. I love it. So, you got anything else in the NBA except for Chris Paul going to waste away in OKC?
Dude, he's
I love
done.
it, dude. I love
He's
it, man.
done. No, but there's really not a lot of NBA news going on right now, to be honest with you.
No, because all the free agency's over, all the buzz is over. They're gonna hit training camp here in about a month or two,
Right.
and then it'll all pick
And then
up
it'll start
again.
picking up and going
They had
crazy
the
again.
D-League shit. I think who won the D-League? Memphis?
I have no idea.
I was watching it
I didn't
the
even
other
pay
day.
attention to the D League, really.
Yeah, you don't even watch the NBA.
I do.
But I'm saying like the D-League, I think Memphis won. Not sure. They had an earthquake. Zion didn't play most of the
He's
D-League.
hurt.
He
He got
not
hurt.
dude.
He got hurt.
No, he got nicked up, and they're saying, fuck that. We're not even going to risk it. These things don't matter. Why put them out there? As soon as one little sign of anything with their star goes, that's it. They say shut him down.
Yeah.
So that's what it was.
Oh, he got a shoe contract.
Yeah, with Jumpman.
Yeah,
I
with
told
Jordan.
you he would.
With Jordan.
They had to, T. He blew out a Nike.
Yeah,
If they didn't do that, they'd be fucked.
they would.
They paid him under the table money, too.
The marketing, everything against them
Yeah.
would have been crazy.
Yeah, man. So getting into any MLB, T?
Well, we just finished the All-Star game. You know that. We talked about that in our last episode. Right now, we got the trade deadline fast approaching. It's going to be on the end of the month, on the 31st.
It's a solid trade deadline this year.
It's a hard trade deadline. That's
Whatever
it.
the fuck that is. Who cares, T? It's baseball.
Well, no, here's the thing. I never understood that after the deadline trades. I never understood that.
It's a waiver line trade because they have to clear waivers. for you to
Right.
trade
And it's
them.
just like, what the
So
fuck?
if they-
Why have it?
If somebody tries to claim them, they wouldn't clear waivers, and then the trade wouldn't go
The
through.
trade wouldn't go
It's
through. It's so
stupid.
stupid, but
It
they did
is.
away with that. So
Yeah, so it's a hard.
this is a hard trade deadline.
Whatever. Wake me up in the playoffs, T.
Right.
All right, I'm
No,
gonna talk
we're
about
fast
that, maybe.
approaching it, actually.
Fast approaching it?
Yeah, there's a lot of.
like 50 games left.
No, there's less than that.
No, it's about 50 because they're not barely over 110 right now, 108.
I don't know.
Yeah, there's 162 games.
We'll have to get Dr. X on that one.
But there's 162 games in the season?
No, how many are left?
Oh, it's easy. We could figure that out before the end of the show.
All right.
All right, so we're going to talk about something else, man. A little bit sad going on, man. But
We
I think
normally
it's
don't
something we
talk
need to
about
talk
this.
about.
We normally don't talk about this
well,
topic.
because there's no one's really talking about this sport anymore, T.
Right.
So why don't you go and talk about it, man?
Yeah, so we're going to talk a little bit of boxing, man. A little sad thing happened. A boxer known belovedly as Sweet P, his real name's Pernell Whitaker. You know, he won the gold in 1984, I believe. He was struck and killed in Virginia Beach, actually, 2 weeks ago. And he was inside of a crosswalk area, and a car in downtown Virginia Beach came and hit him, and he was pronounced dead on the scene. It was a fatal accident. I didn't hear anything. I didn't read anything where the person driving the car, it was a hit and run at all, but they're still doing their investigation and everything. And not a lot of details have come out since then about it, but it's a really sad thing because this guy was a champ. This guy, you know, I mean, he was an Olympic gold medalist.
No, Sweet Pea was a badass, dude.
He
Sweet Pea
was.
fought with Meldrick Taylor and these other guys back in the day, and
Yeah.
he fought Julio Cesar Chavez in one of the best fights I've ever seen in my life.
Right.
And Julio Cesar Chavez knocked him out in the 12th round with 10 seconds to go. It was the craziest fucking fight I ever seen in my life. And this guy was a true champ. I don't know what happened to him or whatever else, but I think the other thing that I wanted to talk about today, T, is some other shit going on. Now, obviously, we talked about this sport and we talked about it pre-show, but there's no more steam in boxing.
None.
The sport is dead. They don't have the personalities. Mikey Garcia lost. He was the undefeated guy who I really liked. But other than that, there's really no one out there. Pacquiao just won again, but he's a retread of a retread. Go be a senator, bro. You're 50 years old. I mean, they're just doing it for money grab.
Right.
And I think that's what's watered down this sport. And the sport's really, I think, in critical shape, in really losing everything. There's no fan appeal to it anymore. There's not many big names out there, not many big fights that command these arenas to be full, that command the pay-per-view money. So I think this sport's really in a precarious position right now, right?
Ooh.
And I think that we have to understand that guys are putting themselves out there now into a sport when they're not really ready for it.
Right.
And I think that one of the results were in this last week, T, we saw 2 fighters die.
Yeah.
And we saw 2 guys die. There was a Russian fighter who fought, and his name was Maxim Dadashev. And he died from brain injuries from sustained in the ring. He got KO'd in the 11th. I saw the fight on ESPN2, and it probably should have been stopped in the 8th. The guy was just tough son of a bitch, dude. He didn't want to go down. So he's just getting pummeled, dude. And he was throwing back, T, but he was taking big shots.
Yeah.
And he must have went down 4 or 5 times before that 11th round when they stopped it. When he was walking away from the ring, he couldn't even stay there for the decision when they put their hand up.
Yeah.
They walked him out before. And when he was walking out, you could see like him stumbling out of the ring.
Yeah.
And I guess he collapsed when he got to the back.
Wow.
And a couple days later, he succumbed to his injuries. But then just the other day, I got a boxer named Hugo Santillan, an Argentinian boxer. Same thing, man. Guy took a lot of headshots, took a beating, everything else. They stopped the fight because he sort of was out of it.
Yeah.
And they really couldn't even get him to respond again during the fight to get him out of there. And he succumbed to his injuries as well. So, 3 boxers dying, 2 of them, that were actually fighting.
In the ring.
And I think what that says for the sport is that the sport's really declining to a point where these guys that are going in there aren't prepared and they're not ready. It's diluted. The sport, the athletes, the people there aren't ready, and this is the result. You're getting a guy who can't match up physically, who can't match up skill-wise, and this is the result.
Yeah.
And it's just tough, man. I'm really worried for boxing right now. I grew up watching boxing. Mike Tyson.
You did?
Larry Holmes, Muhammad Ali.
Yeah.
I remember Muhammad when I was a little kid. These fights were huge. Huge on TV, Channel 7, Channel 2, main events on Saturday nights. That was how you saw it. And now it's just so diluted. There's just nothing to it. There's no personalities. There's no champs. There's no guys you look at. I don't think there's been a champion that I could really know of since Evander Holyfield, probably.
Yeah.
Lennox Lewis. You know what I mean? After that, the heavyweight champ used to be the god.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. It's all about the MMA, man.
MMA is everything.
So to me, I just want to, it's tough, man. These guys lost their lives, T. And they were trying to do something to make a living for themselves and do things in a sport that they probably loved. And it just sucks that they went out that way, man.
It's sad.
Yeah, no, it is, man. So I think that's going to go ahead and wrap up the sports for us. So I think we're going to get into some what the fuck news, man.
Ooh, what the fuck?
Haven't been there for a while, right?
What?
That's what I'm talking about, man.
All right, so what do we got this time, King?
Well, I think the first story is going to be about your man crush, R. Kelly. Why don't you go and take the first one?
My man crush? Are you kidding me? All right, so R. Kelly, this is definitely a what the fuck. All right, he's finding himself in trouble yet again. He's got off time and time again. He's been like Teflon, but not anymore. He got arrested again, but now he's worried about his, he's in jail right now. Now he's worried about being locked up because, he's in there for being, a pedophile. And you know what happens to guys like that in jail. So now he's over there with his attorney and he's saying, hey, I want no part of being in general population in jail. Put me in solitary confinement where I can be safe. And this is getting crazy. But this is federal sex trafficking and child pornography charges.
Then he's in Club Fed, dude.
No, this isn't Club Fed. He's
not in the penitentiary. He's in Club Fed. He's in a prison.
Well,
that's Club Fed. That's what I'm saying. He's in a federal.
Well, I'm just saying this guy, he's over there in New York where Al Chapo is. He's in the same type of situation over there.
Yeah, but he's not in the same kind of facility. He's just not, dude. And my point with this guy is he's just acting like a little bitch because he wants to get out. He wants to get house arrest. He's going to try to do everything he can to wiggle out of there. Because like you mentioned, I think he's probably going to get shanked in there.
He is.
They just don't deal with pedophiles and rapists and guys like that. To them, they're that little piece of.
I was
I was going to say it's like that little piece of white I don't know if you want to call it spit that accumulates in the corner of your mouth when you're really thirsty.
Oh yeah.
Sort of like that. You know, like
I'm
a piece
telling
of
you,
toe jam or something like that.
this guy is in serious shit. Not just with the feds, but by being locked up, he's in some serious shit. So seriously, what the fuck? And my biggest thing is, what the fuck took so long? You know, this guy got off already. This guy has been, you know, like he's been Teflon for so long, and everybody's known about this. The record labels, now the record labels, they're going after not just the record labels, but people in his camp that have kind of been protecting him about this whole time. Now the feds are going after them because they knew, and they're getting charged with accessory.
Yeah, man. But the reality is, man, the guy deserves whatever he gets.
I agree.
He's doing this shit. He paid people off to do it. And the reality is, you want me to throw another one out there? The parents that dropped their kids off should be going to jail with him.
Oh, hell yeah.
You know what I mean? So, yeah, fuck this guy, T. Let's go and get on the next story, bro. I like the next story.
All right, go for it. This one's you then.
Yeah, so what it is, man, is the U.S. women's national team, the soccer team, they just won another World Cup, man. Second in three World Cups or something like that, right?
Right.
So what they're saying is, man, we're the best of the best, but we don't get paid the same even as the men's national team. And the men's national team doesn't do half the shit we do. So we want equal pay. What do you think about that, man?
Well, you know what? Okay. So I'm not into this big old gender thing where equal pay, you know, I understand if you're doing the same job, you get paid equally. But sports is a little bit different, right? That's like saying that the NWA or WNBA, thank you very much.
Did you say NWA?
I
Niggers
did.
with attitude?
I did. You know why I said that is because my son said that to me the other day.
All right.
And it just stuck in my head, so that's why. But yes, thank you for calling me out.
What was the NWA in wrestling? The New World Alliance?
No, that's NWO.
New World Order?
New World Order.
There was a New World there was an NWO? There was only...
No,
okay.
it was the NWO, New World Order.
Go ahead, man.
So anyway, so the WNBA, I have a problem when they start saying that they want equal pay as the, you know, their counterparts in the, you know, NBA, because nobody goes to their games. Nobody sees their games. They draw no revenue. They lose money every single year, right? Women's soccer here, on the other hand, they're the ones that are making this country, you know, on the map as far as soccer. So I agree with them getting the pay. I think they should be paid more than the men, because the men don't do shit on an international level. The women do. And they're starting to break records when it comes to the TV ratings and everything. This last World Cup.
No, they're breaking their own records. They're not breaking records.
They're still pulling down big numbers.
Okay,
so fucking pay them.
Okay, first of all, T, the World Cup is one of the biggest revenue sports every time it comes out.
Right.
So much money. It's just a money river.
It is.
The TV revenues on every channel that covers it is just a money river. And there is no way that the women's soccer and the Women's World Cup is a smidge of that. So it's about their shares, dog. And they're going to get a good share of what they're making. Maybe they don't get enough of the share, but they can't get equal pay to this. They just can't do it.
When it comes to, I'm talking to the U.S.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just don't think they can with the men, because it's equal share of the revenue. And let's just talk about TV revenue, right?
Right.
If it's $1 billion for the Men's World Cup, and they get to split that up between X number of guys, and they got $10 million for the Women's World Cup, and they got to split it up with basically the same number, they're only going to get that much share, T. You know what I mean? So that's what I think the driver is. And I understand what you're saying, and that they're doing way more, but the bottom line is the money.
No, I understand
and the money river isn't coming in the Women's World Cup. Yeah, they're breaking records, their own records. They're not breaking World Cup records. People are not watching the Women's World Cup or even going to those games close to the Men's World Cup. It doesn't matter the team in the Men's World Cup, T. Those stadiums are packed. Those stadiums are packed as people travel all over the world to go see these things. It's a craze. You know what I mean? It's sick. People all over the world are watching these fucking games. Doesn't matter how good the team is. If your team in your country that being there is represented, they're watching that game. It's the most watched sporting event over the 2 weeks in every time it's out.
Now, listen to
So
this,
there's
though.
more revenue there.
Right, I get that. But listen to this. Nike reported that the U.S. women's team home jersey has become the #1 soccer jersey, male or female, ever sold on the company's website in one season. That's intense, man.
Again, it's probably a drop in the bucket compared to baseball. A drop in the bucket compared to basketball.
We're not talking. No, I'm talking about soccer, though.
Right. So soccer isn't a mainstream sport here.
Agreed. And they're not asking to be paid
no.
like that.
Right. But now look at the stat you said. It's the biggest soccer jersey sales in 1 year. Well, no shit. We don't have soccer sales in the United States, dog. It's not a big sport for us here. Even our World Cup isn't big here. It's the least out of every country in the world, probably, our craze. Even when that fucking thing was here.
Right, but we're not talking, they're not asking for the same type of pay as a football or a basketball or a baseball.
So I just put it into perspective too, T, that soccer is irrelevant in the United States. So that stat is almost irrelevant. That's my point about demanding equal pay.
Look, I'm not a big soccer guy by any means. I don't watch it. I'm not a big fan of it. But if you can do the same type of job, get paid for it. You know what I mean?
It's not the same because, okay, think about it, right? So just say this way. The women in the WNBA run as many steps as a man does in an NBA game.
Right.
They're never going to get the same pay.
Right.
It's just the way it is because of the following, because of the TV revenue, because the stream of money coming in.
No, I understand that.
And that's the same thing
here. I completely understand that.
That's the same thing here.
And I support that 100%. You know?
It's comparing an apple to an orange. So it can never be the same to me. It's just not. And the Women's World Cup is never going to compare to the Men's World Cup. So I just think that this argument is just a moot point. They can do whatever they want, and there's people that are helping them out. And you're right, they're great. They've done things that no one else has done in soccer in the United States. But they don't deserve equal pay. They just don't because of the revenue stream.
At least percentage-wise, they should be doing equal pay.
If it's the case that the women's national team deserves as much as the men's national team, then let's not be prejudiced and say that in general, then every women's national team needs to make the same as their men's national team. It shouldn't be just for the team that's winning, because those ladies are out there doing the same thing on every other team. They just don't have the talent.
Right.
Right. So the reality is, Germany, back in the day when they won 3 or 4 women's World Cups, or Japan, didn't go back home and say, you know what, we demand the same money. This is what I'm saying. It's a different type of country here. This is a sport that's the least popular sport in our country. And they're trying to make themselves, because they do have a voice here, stand out. And they have moved the needle. I believe they have. But I just don't think that they can make themselves relevant enough in the space to demand that. And no matter how shitty our men's team is, and they're shitty, dog, because they don't do anything.
No, they're really shitty.
It's just the stream of money.
But
they get the bigger breakdown.
Yeah. I mean, it's disgusting, though, how different it is, to where the women are getting $30 million and the men are getting $440 million.
It's the revenue. You know, it's the TV sponsorships. It's everything else. You know, that's the breakout. You know, and you think about what the guys get or what the teams get. That's just the national team for training, for everything else. And they split up a certain amount of money with guys.
Right. But do you think...
what is FIFA getting?
Oh, don't even start with that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, don't even start me with that.
If they're giving that piece, they're probably giving away 20 to 30% of that.
Yeah.
That's it. They're keeping 70%.
That's why from an international level, it's one of the most corrupt sports.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. So, hey, you know what, T? We're going to go back to a little something now.
What?
Well, before we do that, Dr. X is holding up a sign. He says he has the results of your poll or your question.
Oh, okay.
So what he said right now is that he just looked at division leaders and their records in MLB, and they averaged 114 games.
Right.
That means that there's 50 games left. So once again, R.W. King was right on the money. Because remember the All-Star breaks at about, usually at about maybe a little more than, or a little less than 100 games. So they've been playing now for a couple weeks. So they added another 10 games or something. So that's what I'm saying, 110. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was pretty much spot on. But what we're going to talk about now is our entertainment section. Going back to, dude, we haven't been in the entertainment section for a while.
We haven't done it in a minute.
We got to do some movie reviews. There's no good movies. There wasn't no good summer movies, dude.
There's nothing
what
right now.
What happened to the fucking Godzilla movie? That fucking thing never even hit.
You're the only one talking about it, not me.
Fuck,
I didn't even want to talk about it.
So what we're going to do today is we're going to go back in the archives, bro.
How far are we going to go back?
As far back as we have to, dog.
We're going to go way back.
So what we're going to do is we're going to rank our top 3 guy movies each of us are going to do.
Oh.
So I'm going to pick 3.
Okay.
Then you're going to pick 3.
All right.
All right. So we're going to talk about our picks. We actually looked at our list before because we didn't want to have the same. And you know what? Hey, surprisingly, dude, we didn't have the same list.
We didn't.
So I'm going to let you go with yours first because I really liked your list too, man. So I'm going to let you go and throw your first 3 out there.
Okay.
And then I'm going to go ahead and go with mine.
All right.
All right.
All right. So my number 3 on this list is Rambo First Blood.
Love Rambo, dude. It's got to be the perennial guy movie, right?
Right.
There's no chick in there. There's no female even in any of the scenes, right?
Nothing.
I think the only one's like the waitress in the bar when what was the Will, the sheriff who
Something
fucked
like
with him.
that. Yeah.
What do you want, Will? Oh, I want a double shooter wild turkey.
Right. That's it.
Thank you, hun. You know
that
what
was
I mean?
it.
That was it. There was no chicks in that movie. So that's a great.
Hey, they drew First Blood there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
No, and it's a classic, man. It's a classic, and that is an ultimate type of guy movie. So that's my number 3.
I love Rambo, man. First Blood. But what about the sequels? Did you like any of the sequels?
The sequels were okay. They were a little
bit corny.
They were a little bit corny,
right?
you know, with the Russians and the Arabs and all that stuff.
Well, that was one of them, but there was the other one where he was in Cambodia or something. Did you see that one where he was like a snake charmer or some shit?
You know,
that was a little bit weird too, man. Dude. Yeah, so
definitely dated. It plays to the.
Didn't you tell me too that another one's coming out?
Yeah.
It's called Last Blood?
Last Blood. It's coming out. Last Blood, man.
Fucking dude.
I think we're going to have to do a review.
Well, fuck yeah, if it comes out.
Review.
Fuck, dude, that's going to be hard, dude.
They drew Last Blood.
Dude, his face looks like putty already.
Oh, I don't know what they're using to keep that shit together. That's pretty
gonna
wicked,
be a tough
man.
watch, dude.
All right, so my number 2 on this list has got to be Blazing Saddles.
Oh, man, yeah, no. And when you put that on the list, dude, I didn't really put that on my list because I used to have a girl that I used to watch it with.
Oh, okay.
But then I started thinking she's probably the only girl that would watch it with me.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? So,
dude, we've both been married. I've never been able to get any of my wives,
Me
any of my
either,
girlfriends, nothing, never, ever,
as I
ever.
watched the first 10 minutes of it, they
That's
talk
about it.
the sheriff.
Right.
And then that's it.
That's it. That's it. They tap out.
That's it.
And
man.
it's a classic.
No, not just that, but it's something that could never be made again, T.
Never.
You know, Mel Brooks was a genius back in the day.
He was.
He stretched the limits back then. You know, History of the World, Blazing Saddles. This guy was just a man.
Yeah.
And this movie was just so iconic, and it's so funny nowadays. You know, and everybody was in that movie back in the day.
Oh,
so that
everybody.
cast was just loaded.
That was awesome.
And you just won't see something like that again.
And then you start going into the other Mel Brooks. Every movie he's ever done has a loaded cast. Even little bit parts has a big name guy just filling in.
Yeah, but he was one of those guys too, T, that liked the same folks in his movies.
He did.
You know what I mean? So he's pretty loyal to those folks.
You ever see History of the World?
Yeah, I loved
History of the World. History of the World. And that same thing, you know what I mean? But no, I had to make my list though. Blazing Saddles, definitely one of those all-time guy movies for me.
So let me throw that to you then. Do you think History of the World is a guy movie?
It is, but it was a hard list to weed it down to 3.
How many of these youngsters that are listening to us, T, are really like even know what we're talking about right now?
They probably know Rambo and they probably know Blazing Saddles because Blazing Saddles surprisingly
then just Google
is on TV.
History of the World.
Right.
It's actually wasn't it History of the World Part 2?
No, just one.
It's only Part 1?
Yeah, it's only Part 1.
Because I thought he made it Part 2 on purpose, knowing there was no Part 1.
No,
was that as the title?
Yeah, it was History of the World Part 1, and that was it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but it
the
never,
Inquisition, dog.
Right, the Inquisition.
Yeah,
or no, my favorite at the end. And coming up for History of the World Part 2, Jews in Space. And it had this like Star of David type spaceship. It was pretty awesome.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, you can't make that type of stuff anymore.
They can't say anything like
They
that.
can't, man.
I mean, look at how many times did they say the N-word in Blazing Saddles, bro?
Oh, I can't even count.
I mean, but the way they did it was funny.
It was hilarious.
And there was black people in the movie.
Right.
And they were clowning it.
Right.
It's good, man.
It's just, that's how it is.
I love your number 2 movie, man. So what do you got as your number 1 overall movie, man?
Number 1, it's a serious movie, but I love the way it starts. At least the first half of the movie was awesome and iconic for me. Full Metal Jacket.
I love Full Metal Jacket, dude. We talk about it a lot on the show.
We do.
You know, Pyle, you made it. 187 Infantry. You made it. You know what I mean?
You know, was it, oh, there, Pilgrim. Who is that? Who's the fucking comedian in my barracks? You know what I mean? It's just classic. The things that he says. You know, he just passed away like about a year ago.
Well, he sort of lived off of that role for the rest of his life after that, dude.
Well, he
was sort of known. Well, he was a drill sergeant.
Right. And he was just there as a consultant.
Yeah, correct. But because the guy they had just couldn't do it and this guy kept doing it, they just made him hit.
Yeah. They're like,
so it worked out.
Just do it, man. Just do your thing and we'll just film it. You know, and I mean, come on, man. The iconic, oh, tubuku.
No, it's not the iconic, dude. Man, no, that's the different one. Remember, the other one was "I'm So Horny."
Oh yeah, oh, me so horny.
That's from the song, dog. That's the soundbite from the song, the Two Life Crew song. Yeah, so maybe we're gonna close with that song today, bro.
Oh man, that would be awesome.
Pull it out, man. See if Dr. X can find it. But yeah, man, no, I love Full Metal Jacket.
Full Metal Jacket's great.
No,
that's
a
guy movie.
Straight up, it is.
And we talked about other movies when we were kind of throwing back and forth some movie ideas for this, and Platoon came up. Remember, that's very much like a Full Metal Jacket, but Full Metal Jacket for me it had that iconic type of feel to it, and I had to go with Full Metal Jacket.
No, I don't think you can go wrong with it. Apocalypse Now was another great movie.
Oh, that's the other one, yeah.
You know what I mean? Charlie Sheen in that movie.
Yeah,
it was a great movie.
Sure.
Willem Dafoe.
Yeah.
I really liked that movie too. Tom Berenger. That was really good to me, and that was really close to being on my list, but I didn't really want to go there. But T, man, I love your list, bro. I think it's fucking great. I loved it from top to bottom.
All right, so what do you got, King?
So, we're going to recap yours, Dick. Don't get all saucy.
Hey.
So your number 3 you said was Rambo.
Rambo, First Blood.
Your number 2 is Blazing Saddles.
Of course.
And number 1 overall, Full Metal Jacket.
Full Metal Jacket.
All right, man. All right. So, my list was a little bit tough, dude. I'm a movie guy, T.
You are. Much more than I am.
It was tough, dude, because there were so many movies, man. And then, we were talking about them too the other day, and is this really a guy movie? And, Braveheart, Gladiator. I was thinking those are straight guy movies.
Right.
But they were both love stories because they both lost their wives.
Right.
So there was a little bit of a woman tang to it. So I sort of threw that off for me. So, man, it was tough for me, man. I had a list of 10 and I had to whittle it down. And it was tough, man, but here it goes.
All right.
So my number 3 overall guy movie of all time, Reservoir Dogs.
Oh, nice.
Reservoir Dogs was just a shit, dog. When that thing came out and these fuckers went to breakfast, remember the breakfast scene?
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Pink, Mr. Blonde, Mr. Black, Mr. Brown, you know what I mean? It was just perfect, dog.
It was.
And that just set that whole movie, and then the soundtrack to that movie, the cinematography.
Oh, yeah.
The way when Mr. Blonde cut the policeman's ear off, remember?
Mm-hmm.
It's Caught in the Middle with You, man. He played that song, and he did that little strut up to him and cut his ear off.
Yep.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
See, that's iconic right there.
You know what I mean? So, yeah, dude, I just love that. I love Quentin Tarantino splashing on the scene like that.
Yeah.
It was a great movie for me, and for me, I think it's a great guy movie. So, to me, that's my number 3 overall movie.
That's an awesome number 3.
So
easily number 1 on any other list too.
It could be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I like Quentin Tarantino. I like the stuff he does. So to me, I had to put him on my list somewhere. I had a couple other movies of his on the list, but they went on pretty easy. This is one of my favorites. My number 2 movie, and this was a tough between my 2 and 1. Because I like comedies, T.
Yeah.
That's why I love Blazing Saddles, but and these two can be interchangeable for me, bro. But I'm gonna go ahead and go with Animal House number 2.
Oh, that's a great one.
Dude, Animal House was iconic, bro.
Man.
Do you know how many times I knuckled up to the chick? Remember when he's like, fuck her. I'd fuck her now.
Yeah.
Remember when she passed out?
Yeah.
Don't you do it. She's not going to remember that. You shouldn't do that. When the devil and the angel was on
the angel on
and
his
then
shoulders.
he hits the angel off.
Yeah.
And then he fucking pulls the girl up in a shopping cart and knocks on the front door and
Yeah,
runs.
exactly.
It's perfect, dude. So yeah, no, that movie was just iconic as well. And it was just perfect for everything. So, I mean, it was tough for me to figure out who was 2 and who was 1. So I put Animal House number 2.
Now I'm looking forward to your number 1 if Animal House is your number 2.
Scarface, dude.
Oh.
When Scarface came out, it changed the world almost. I mean, everybody got into it. Didn't matter what your background was. Didn't matter what you did. Everybody saw Scarface.
That's probably one of the most quotable movies, too.
The best part of that movie, T, and I don't remember because I don't know if you remember because you were young, but when it first came out, they had to withdraw the movie.
No, I don't remember
because
that.
it was too gory.
Wow.
There's a part in there in the beginning. You remember when they met up with I guess Colombians and
Yeah.
they cut up his friend in the shower.
Yeah.
They really didn't show a lot really when the final came out, but in the first cut it was way too much.
Wow.
And they said people were leaving the theaters. This is in the early 90s when this thing came out, or when it came out, late 80s whenever it came out, and people weren't ready for that shit. And when they showed it, they basically said, you know what, we have to withdraw this movie because they have to edit it. And they withdrew the movie for a week,
Wow.
re-edited the movie, then re-released it.
Damn.
And it sort of hurt the movie in the theaters. So the movie didn't really bring big numbers in the theaters, but once it got on the TV, it's just a cult classic with everybody. And everybody loves that movie. It's the epitome of, hey, you know what, come to America and however you do it, you fucking make your dream come true.
Right.
Right?
No, that's an awesome movie. It's easily a number 1 on anybody's list for sure. That movie right there. When you showed me that movie on there, I was just like blown away. I was like, oh, why didn't I think of that one?
I mean, a lot of people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but that's our top 3 guy movies of all time each. And I think they're pretty good lists. You know, but hey, you know, if you got some lists out there, you got some movies. I mean, obviously we couldn't name them all, guys.
No.
And we didn't want this list to go 10 deep, or we could have made it 10 deep, 20 deep.
Could have easily done that.
But we broke it down to 3, guys. So we know there's a lot of movies out there, Caddyshack, a lot of other movies
Oh, yeah.
that we know are just great movies. Big Lebowski,
Ooh,
right? We talked about those, and now we're showing our age a little bit.
right.
But there's a lot of movies out there, guys, that are iconic. So we just couldn't get them all on there. These are
Total
our faves.
Recall.
Total Recall. We talked about that.
We talked about that one, and that was one of
Terminator.
those Terminator, but we debated about Terminator.
Yeah, but we looked at those other lists on Google, and it's up on those lists.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, we thought about that just because of the chick movement thing. But, I mean, it's going to wrap up our entertainment bid, and I think it's going to wrap up our show,
That's
T.
going to wrap up the show for this week.
Yeah, man. So, again, you know, we just wanted to keep the old structure and keep things going. We want to say, you know, thanks for sticking around, man. We did it, T. We did our old show.
We did our old
these
format.
were our old formulas. We didn't really have the content with the NBA like we wanted, but NFL was pretty good.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, MLB sucks my balls. Oh, you know what I heard today too?
What?
They're really big on trying to start they're going to do that test run in the minor leagues next year for the robot ump.
The robot, yeah.
And they said they want to do it in the All-Star game next year.
Oh, nice.
Because they want to put it in a real life situation that means something, but doesn't really mean something.
And see how that goes.
And see how it works.
I like that.
So they were talking about that today. That
And
the MLB sort of threw that out already.
You and I already talked about how the MLB is the absolute worst to be able to adapt to technology and new things. So I like that idea.
But another thing that we talked about before, T, and we didn't talk about it now, is we talked about these folks getting hurt by the foul walls.
Yeah,
A lot of these MLB stadiums now are retrofitting right away.
they are. Dodger Stadium, especially after that Ballinger one,
Yeah.
they already said that they're going to be doing it. Oh, and we didn't touch on this too. Dodger Stadium
Getting
just
renovated.
announced. Yeah, they just
I
what
saw
is it,
those pics, man.
100 million or 100 billion or something
Yeah,
like that.
they make that in one season.
Yeah. So
you know what I
it's
mean? But they're
or
going to put a
1 billion
playground in there.
$1 billion renovation.
Yeah, exactly.
It's going to be crazy.
No, they're just going to make it nicer, dude. They want to keep the nostalgia. They don't want to break that thing down. That was a thing that they were contemplating a few years ago.
Right.
Just dropping the whole thing and building a state-of-the-art, and they decided not to because they want to keep the nostalgia because no other stadium other than Yankee Stadium,
Not even
who
that anymore.
rebuilt themselves,
Yeah.
isn't iconic anymore. They're the oldest stadium.
Right.
And other than Wrigley and Fenway and those
Fenway.
guys. But they want to keep that feel.
Yeah.
And I like that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, they can do like they did in Chicago. You just change the face.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, that's what they did a few years back, and it kind of held up.
We went to the inaugural season of the new one, man.
Right.
Yeah, so we got the pin, we got everything there, man. We were
I got the hat, I got the shirt, I got
pin,
it all.
yeah, the whole getup.
I got the whole thing.
Yeah, I got that somewhere in storage or something. But anyway, so we're gonna go ahead and get going, man. We want to say thanks to everybody for sticking around.
Oh yeah, everybody.
Yeah.
You know, we really appreciate all of you.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. You know, we talked about some different music to close out. We're gonna see if Dr. X can handle that. But also to remember, guys, we got our swag coming in. We're gonna let you guys know what's going on with that. You know, keep patient, guys, out there. Keep pubbing us, guys. You know, we really appreciate it. Remember, like we said, we got a couple of drops already on our fantasy football edition. Sweet T's creeping in there, giving us a little bit more content. You know, he's playing like he doesn't know what's going on, guys, but he knows what's going on, dude.
Yeah, but that's your thing. That's why I'm letting you roll, man. That's, you know, I don't mind taking a little bit of a backseat for that.
Yeah, man, but you know me, dude. If you came to me in March, April, I could have already told you all this.
Oh, I know that.
You know what I mean?
I know. You're a junkie when it comes to that shit.
Oh, dude, I was so excited. Like, I think we said it on the show when they opened the mock drafts.
I know, you're right there.
Yeah, I was sitting there stroking.
I know, you're texting me right away. Mock drafts are open. Mock drafts I
dude,
already got 5 deep.
I love it, dog.
Yeah, you're going crazy.
Well, of course, dude. I love that shit.
So anyway.
You got anybody to say goodbye to, man?
I just want to say thank you to everybody that's listening. You know, we got a lot of good feedback. We keep getting a lot of good feedback, and I really appreciate it. I know King really appreciates it. Even Dr. X, even though he doesn't say anything, he does appreciate it because he tells us. He's the first one to read this stuff, you know? So both from all of us, really, thank you, everybody, so much for everything.
Oh, absolutely, man. And we're going to go ahead and get out of here, T. For Incoherent Idiocy, I am R.W. King. He is
Sweet T.
And we are
out.